I'll have to read it, but that's fine. And the other one,
I can get rid of the Nexus Player story. That's kind of not a big deal.
yeah, I was just going to tell people not to buy it. Wait, I took that one. What are you talking about?
Oh, then maybe I just need to refresh.
You probably should, because
My
there was only 2 pink
version of
topics.
Chrome isn't showing me the latest.
When you said that, there were only 2 pink topics, and I was like, wait a minute, what?
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. There's only one now.
Stupid Google Docs.
Well, I have an unsupported version of Chrome, so that could be the problem.
Okay, so then are we all set?
I think so. All right, then.
Wait, is the spreadsheet order is correct, and that's the order that we're going in.
I believe so.
I'm deleting the Sprint story.
Yeah, that sounds good. Nobody cares about Sprint. Not even Sprint cares about Sprint.
There's another topic that's unclaimed. It's just the formatting didn't work, so it's not pink.
Oh, weird. Oh, the Outlook thing. I don't know. Do we care?
Well, I was thinking we just talk about that all together.
You can just lump it in with the one below it.
She's lump.
So I'll just put your name on it, and I'll just I'll just do the whole shit sandwich.
Take that, Microsoft.
I like sandwiches.
Sure do like them.
Okay, yeah. So let's do this thing.
Really?
Let's does it, man. Let's does it.
Does it?
Yeah. Let's does the damn thing.
Oh. Yeah. I'm going to press button.
Hold on a second before you do that.
All right.
I guess you weren't part of the Cocteau plan.
Greed, deception, abuse of power, that's no plan.
That's why everybody's down here?
You got that right. See, according to Cocteau's plan, I'm the enemy. Because I like to think. I like to read. I'm into freedom of speech and freedom of choice. I'm the kind of guy who likes to sit in a greasy spoon and wonder, gee, should I have the T-bone steak or the jumbo rack of barbecue ribs with the side order of gravy fries? I want high cholesterol. I want to eat bacon and butter and buckets of cheese, okay? I want to smoke a Cuban cigar the size of Cincinnati in a non-smoking section. I want to run through the streets naked with green jello all over my body reading Playboy magazine. Why? Because I suddenly might feel the need to, okay, pal? I've seen the future. You know what it is? It's a 47-year-old virgin sitting around in his beige pajamas drinking a banana broccoli shake singing, I'm an Oscar Mayer weenie. You live up top, you live Cocteau's way. What he wants, when he wants, how he wants. Your other choice? Come down here, maybe starve to death.
Welcome to the Android Police Podcast, your weekly audio source for all things Android. It is Thursday, January 29th, 2015. I'm your host, Matthew Smith.
I'm Cameron Somerson.
I'm Liam Spradlin.
I'm Ryan Whitwam.
And my name is Bob Severns. I will be pressing the buttons this evening. Welcome to the show.
Pressing the buttons. And welcome back, Cameron. It's been a while since we've had you. It's good to have you back.
I'm glad to be back. It's been like 5 weeks or 6 or something.
It's too many.
Too many weeks minus
Way
Cameron.
Too many.
Way too many. All right, well, let's get things kicked off with a little bit of Code Google. All right, so we're going to start off with some big news, although it's a little bit unsubstantiated, just rumors at this point, regarding Google being a carrier soon. Of course, this is something that's been rumored for a long time. So, Ryan, why do we think the story might be a little bit different this time?
Well, the information published this long post, as they are wont to do, claiming that Google is in the process of setting up an MVNO carrier, which will run on Sprint and T-Mobile. And this seems plausible to us mainly because we were also told this a number of months ago, but we didn't have enough information to post it. So, but now that this has happened, we think it's pretty confident. We're pretty confident that either this is happening or this was going to happen recently. So the idea is that you'd be able to just get a Google SIM card, whatever they decide to call this this carrier eventually. Maybe it'll be Nova. That would be kind of a fun name. But whatever they call it, you'll get that SIM card. You'll put it in your phone, and you'll still be using the Sprinter or the T-Mobile network, but Google will have some sort of deal set up where you pay them for the service. And then we're also hearing that it might actually be able to switch between Sprint and T-Mobile and possibly also Wi-Fi automatically, depending on what kind of signal you get, which would probably be a pretty good hook for this service because there are already a dozen different MVNOs that do pretty much the same thing. That just offer better deals than you get from the regular carrier. So I don't know. Maybe we'll hear something about this at I/O, or maybe maybe it's not ever going to happen. Who knows? But yeah, people have been talking about Google being a carrier for a long time. So maybe it'll finally happen.
So I guess the question I have is because I've never really dealt with MVNOs. Do they get the full access to those carriers? Like, do they get the full LTE download speeds, or is it more limited, kind of like the prepaid offerings are?
It depends usually on what the deal they have is. I mean, they can. They're basically buying access to the network wholesale and then reselling it. So it depends. I mean, like if you do some MVNOs, you only, you'll get LTE, but you'll get it'll be capped at like 10 megabits or something. I have to assume that if Google did this, they would want people to not be complaining about the speed. So hopefully they would be able to get the full speed of the networks.
All right, good deal. So the other speed-related Google entity we talk about a lot on the show is Google Fiber, and it's now making its way to a couple of new cities. So Ryan, who should we be jealous of now?
We should all hate everybody in Atlanta, Charlotte, Nashville, and Raleigh-Durham, and the surrounding communities because they are getting Google Fiber, and that is not fair because I don't have Google Fiber. So that's happening in the next couple of months. They'll start rolling it out. They're planning the network right now. So 18 total cities in those metro areas will have fiber. So that's $70 a month for 1 gigabit up and down. I am very sad about this. I have a 5 megabit upload on Comcast. 5 megabits.
5 megabits. Has anybody talked to Eric about this? I'm just curious.
I don't think so. I mean, I feel like I know he's somewhere in Atlanta. I don't know if he's like in an area that's like close enough to get this. I mean, it seems like Atlanta has a lot of little dots around it on the map that Google provided. So
yes, Atlanta has suburbs for miles and miles and miles.
So I don't know.
We're not even really suburbs. That's not the right word, but you get the impression.
Yeah. It's a city that just has very large borders. So who knows? Maybe he's like far enough out there that he thinks he's probably not going to get it. I feel like if he was confident, he would have been screaming about it. But
right.
Who knows? If he gets Google Fiber, we'll all hate him forever.
As if we don't already.
Yeah, that's why we made him leave.
That's exactly why. Except for that one person in the chat room. Well, no, they're not there. Everybody hates him. All right, moving on to another kind of interesting venture into the world of Google providing internet access. Google has invested in SpaceX. So I'm guessing that they've got a pretty good idea of how they want to use this this access to outer space, right, Ryan?
Yeah. So SpaceX is the private space firm. It's run by Elon Musk, who also does Tesla, and SpaceX has this sort of general plan for a way to deploy small satellites that would be able to provide access to the web. All over, large open areas like rural areas that have really poor wired internet service, and these hypothetical satellites would be in a very low orbit, so they would have much lower latency than satellite internet as it exists now. I mean, if you have a satellite internet connection because you live in the middle of nowhere, you probably have several seconds of latency, whereas a wired connection is 50 or 100 milliseconds. So Google gave SpaceX some money, and they're going to maybe do some stuff, but that's still off in the future. Right now, SpaceX is still concentrating on building gigantic rockets and sending supplies to the space station.
Right. They're off doing those things that they get paid to do by contractors. So yeah, I think that makes sense. All right, moving on to one more Google rumor regarding a potential buyout. This one a little bit more on the ironic side, of course, because they're looking at purchasing the primary stop block from Google Wallet adoption, which is Softcard. So Liam, what does this mean for Softcard? That they'd be selling off to the company that they were successfully keeping out of the marketplace for a while there.
Liam's muted.
Liam's muted. It wouldn't be an AP podcast without Liam being muted at some point.
Or maybe Liam's mic is broken.
Oh, maybe.
Liam is broken.
Yes, Liam is broken.
Nope.
Every time I speak, Matt, you have to move your mouth because no one can see me.
Uh-oh, he's not muted. So something has gone wrong in Hangouts someplace.
Something has gone wrong. Something has gone.
Something has
Frowny
gone
face.
wrong.
Well, maybe Liam should disconnect and reconnect and see if his mic starts working.
Yay! Do that. And he's gone.
And that was the last time we ever saw Liam.
And we never saw the coiffed-haired boy again.
We can just chalk this up to Hangouts. Although Liam does use a Mac, so maybe his computer's broken. Burn.
Burn.
Burn to Mac people.
And maybe his mute button doesn't work on his keyboard. Unless you hit the insert key, which has been renamed FN for some reason.
Still no Liam sound.
Maybe unplug that blue microphone and try to go with the built-in one.
Maybe just run your mouth, and we will try to
get a chalkboard, and you can just write.
This is my built-in mic. Does it sound terrible?
I don't know. It sounds okay.
It's not bad.
It's yeah.
It's we can hear things coming out of your mouth this time, so better than before.
Okay. All right. So Softcard, guys. All right. Softcard used to be ISIS. They're not doing well. So they were the main reason that Google Wallet was not able to be used on a bunch of carriers' phones because they couldn't access the secure element. They overcame that in KitKat, but it was too late. But Softcard's not doing well. It's doing worse than Wallet. So rumor is that Google's going to buy it for somewhere south of $100 million. So, yay with a question mark? I don't know.
I'm glad this article was on the site because I had never seen the ISIS commercials before, and now I have new nightmare material. So
they're terrifying.
Goodness for that.
We posted just the commercials by themselves when they came out because they were so upsetting.
Yeah, I think I must have skipped over that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that just really illustrates how poorly conceived this entire endeavor has been, that they thought, hey, let's create this incredibly creepy talking payment terminal. That'll be great.
With flashing eyebrows. I'm sorry. The flashing eyelashes was the nice touch, I thought. It's really, really classy. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Webview security, because that sounds exciting. Starting off with some reports that came out over the last several weeks regarding a pretty significant security flaw, at least as it was stated with Webview. And of course, if you're not familiar, Webview is the little viewer utility that apps use to show web content without having to actually go to the web browser. But Google has finally come out and made some statements regarding what their stance is on the Webview security concerns. And Ryan, what are they saying out there?
You would think that Webview security is really boring, but people got super, super worked up about this, and especially Google's just refusal to say anything. So finally, Google had to issue a statement and explain what the situation is. So Webview, before Android 4.4, it was based on the standard WebKit engine. And in KitKat, they changed it to Chromium. and in Lollipop they unbundled it from the OS, so it's updated in Google Play. So the problem is on Jellybean and older. On Android 4.3 and before, it's an old version of WebKit. It's 2 years old now, and Google has basically said that it's not feasible for them to go through all of the new WebKit commits and take those and put them back into an old branch of WebKit, which is what Android 4.3 runs on. And of course, I mean, saying it's not feasible doesn't mean that it's impossible. Obviously, Google has the resources. They could do this. I mean, it would take a lot of effort, and they're basically saying it's not worth the time to do this because we've already fixed this problem. The update that fixed this was KitKat. And if an OEM has not delivered KitKat to a device, there's no reason to think that they will deliver a minor update that patches WebKit vulnerabilities. I mean, for an OEM to push an update to an old phone that doesn't get OS updates anymore, it has to be a pretty substantial bug. It has to be like Heartbleed. And this stuff is just probably not serious enough for them to do that. So Google has basically said, we're not going to do this ourselves. If somebody wants to submit a patch, then we'll accept it. Android is open source. That's an option, of course. And for developers, they should bundle their own updated browser inside of apps, if to be deployed on Android 4.3 and earlier, if that's what they want to do. Users should just not use WebKit, or should not use Webview to view just any kind of random content on the web. It's fine if you're just in an app that needs to use Webview to access some specific online resource, but if you have an app that's pulling up a browser that you can use to go to a bunch of different websites, it's maybe not super safe. But I mean, it on the other side, it also should be pointed out, like, there are a lot of people on Jellybean and older. This is a lot of devices. Like 50 or 60% of the active Android devices are still on this version. So I mean, it's not that it isn't a problem. It's just that it's a problem Google doesn't have a good way of fixing.
So I would like to point out that there's several apps. Like I use the two apps that I use pretty regularly, Talon for Twitter and Bacon Reader. They would use what I would imagine is the same concept of WebView in Lollipop to show you websites so you don't have to go to a separate browser. So I think that's kind of the stuff you really need to be worried about, because it really leaves it pretty wide open. You can click around once you're in there and do anything.
Yeah, or like Link Bubble, I think would probably be the same deal.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I guess if you're still using a Jellybean device, you just need to be aware of that. But I mean, you can just shut off, like most of those apps have, a setting where you can, like, say, use the internal browser, or open Chrome when I hit a web link. So if you're on Jellybean, maybe you should do that just to be safe. But I mean, these are exploits that are known. It doesn't mean that these are exploits that you're going to run into when you open any web page on the internet.
Good deal. All right, so let's move on to YouTube Music Key, because we had a little bit of a qualm here, a little bit of a situation with one of the independent artists who was approached by YouTube regarding this service, and it kind of brought out a lot of sides of this particular product and this particular service that we didn't really see too much prior to that. So Liam, what's the story here with Music Key and their terms?
Back when Music Key wasn't officially confirmed yet, we had heard that it was delayed a bunch of times because of conflicts with indie artists, but nobody really knew what they were. They weren't really explicitly stated. But Zoe Keating, a really awesome cellist who everybody should check out, even if you're not into cello music, has published on her blog some details about the terms that YouTube proposed to her for Music Key, which are basically, for 5 years, she's responsible for putting all of her music on YouTube at the same time as it goes up on any other service. So basically, they don't want to get left behind. And distributing it that way, and also transitioning away from Content ID, which is something that right now allows her and other artists to basically find when their music is used in someone's video, and then to monetize that video and share the revenue with the person who uploaded the video. So it's kind of a nice way of handling, like, without actually licensing the music, just handling its presence in other people's videos. So they want her to not do that anymore while she signs this agreement for 5 years. And if she doesn't, her YouTube channel will be blocked and she won't be able to use Content ID anyway. So it's kind of a tough situation because she wants to control when and where and how her music is distributed, which is understandable, especially for an independent artist who's kind of gone out of their way to avoid some of the mess that can be commercial music distribution. So yeah, I mean, I can see both sides because Google wants their service to be seamless. They want people to be able to find things first on their service easily without any trouble. But on the other hand, these terms are kind of problematic for an artist like Keating. So I'm not sure what the solution is, but I can kind of see both sides.
So, just so I understand it properly, the terms made it sound like you can't really do anything about people using your music. But I'm imagining you still have the DMCA takedown notices you could still use with YouTube videos that used your music. It's just that you don't have the option to kind of just still leave it there and make some revenue off of it and gain the exposure that video might have given you.
Right, and it's kind of like any video that has the info for your music in it. So if somebody said like Zoe Keating Tetris Head like remix or something, and it has the artist name and the song name, then that would get tied back into Music Key. So it would have the little ad-free label, which is already happening if you go on YouTube and look at any song from a non-official channel. It's already labeled as such. So there is something going on there where it all kind of gets piled back into Music Key. But I don't think it's the same kind of like fine-grained control that artists have with Content ID.
Yeah, it sounds like Google is pitching this as, you'll make more money doing it this way than using Content ID, but
Right.
I mean, not everybody cares about that. And I mean, in this specific case, it seems like the YouTube reps are coming at her pretty hard to accept this because I mean, and she's been posting transcripts of the things they're saying to her, and like the YouTube rep, I imagine somebody is going to get fired or like reassigned because one of them actually told her that YouTube is evil in all caps, like to remind her that like she should just do this because YouTube is evil and there's nothing she can do about it. And a YouTube employee said this, so I guess she is sort of the thorn in Music Key's side right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that. I think that the terms they're offering to other independent artists are probably the same, but I do think that there's something wrong with the way that it's been handled, particularly in her case. And it might be because she published stuff about it, because she wrote about the terms publicly, that they're kind of, whoever is dealing with her is kind of scrambling and reacting in ways that are not becoming.
And now Google is getting a lot of bad press, which Google does not need right now because,
Right.
I mean, when you look at what's happening with like developers on Google Play, and like this Music Key thing, it just seems like Google is sort of losing focus on the people that are actually making their services worthwhile to users.
And yeah, I mean, like I said, I understand the terms, like I get why they would want that, but it is problematic in cases like this where, it's an all or nothing deal.
Yeah,
there's no in between.
And especially for people that just give their music away like she does. I mean,
Right.
You don't want to be like you don't want to get an email from Google that says, "We noticed that your new album is on BitTorrent. Did you do that, or did somebody else do that?"
Right. Yeah, and that is the thing because she uploads to like Bandcamp and SoundCloud and all that. So it's a tough spot.
It is a tough spot. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all turns around because obviously the mantra exists that there's no such thing as bad publicity, but
that's so not true.
I don't really think that that's true. It may have been true at some point, but definitely not in the internet age. So, all right, the next topic is the one I thought I deleted. The next topic. It's interesting. It's come back from the dead. So I guess we have to talk about it. The Nexus Player is available from places other than Play Store, right, Cam?
Oh, speaking of bad publicity, yes, the Nexus Player. The Nexus Player is its own bad publicity. So yeah, it's available from Tiger Direct and a couple of brick and mortars, Fry's and Walmart, Amazon. So all these places, which I would strongly recommend you not buying it from. You can now go look at it and not buy it from those places. But please, by all means, just don't buy it. It's not good. It's not good at all. And it hasn't gotten any better since I reviewed it 3 months ago. I was gonna write a post, and I still might, but I actually started a post on Nexus Player 3 months later, and I haven't really used it in the past probably month and a half, maybe even 2 months. I haven't messed with it at all. I use Fire TV pretty exclusively, and Roku, because they actually don't suck. And when I went to see, I was like, oh yes, let's see what's new. Nothing new. Nothing is new.
I got a Roku 3 recently. That thing is fantastic.
Oh God, Roku 3. We keep a Roku 3 in the bedroom, and I have the Fire TV in here because it's more Android related stuff. And of course I have the Nexus Player in here and a Chromecast and all that other stuff. But yeah, I mean Roku 3 is just fantastic. Roku 3 is amazing because you can get, I mean, especially the thing that really just kind of put it over the top for me was when they added Google Play Movies to Roku.
Yeah, that's cool. I love the remote has a headphone jack. That's so brilliant.
Yeah. It is.
Everything
It's super cool. So if you wanna watch things and not interrupt people, yeah. I mean Roku is just awesome.
I'm waiting for some of these apps, like some of the Android apps that you use to control your Roku or whatever it is that you have. That I'm waiting for one of those to get that functionality, the whole headphone functionality.
I think that does Allcast.
Allcast. Yep. It has that. I don't know if it works on everything.
Yeah, I think it's kind of hit or miss, or at least that's what I gather.
Yeah, I think so too. And does I want to say maybe it's a root feature. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I know there was some sort of.
That's the sort of thing that just needs to be built in to everything, but Chromecast in particular.
Absolutely.
I mean, the Chromecast is like probably my secondary streaming thing. I use the Roku 3 most of the time. I have a Fire TV stick that I use sometimes. I've actually found that to be kind of buggy. It might just be because it's less powerful and it gets bogged down more easily. But
it is. The stick can. The stick is a little slow and a little laggy. I use my Fire TV. I have a Fire TV stick laying right beside it, but I have, and that's actually the thing that I wrote earlier about the app shortcuts. I actually use my Fire TV stick to test that, but I like stick. I like Fire TV more, obviously. Roku is my favorite. Roku, then Fire TV, then Chromecast probably, just because I find using like my phone or a tablet just really cumbersome. I'd rather use a regular remote. And then Nexus Player is at the. I would put like cable television, and then I would put cable television, and then like I don't know, an antenna, and then I don't know, something else, and then maybe Nexus Player. It's so bad.
Goodness. Well, I mean, yeah,
if they would add nothing, they haven't done anything with it. They released it, added 3 or 4 apps to the Play Store once it came out, and they have not done anything else since.
It's gotten no OS updates, right? See,
no OS updates.
That's what Google really needs to be careful about, because that's what killed Google TV. Is it just sat there forever without updates? It took them forever to roll out new stuff to it.
Yeah. And they're doing the same thing here. The same exact thing here. I kept telling myself I was kind of hard on it in the original review, and then I kind of went back. I took a step back, and I was like, oh, because then I found out that they didn't even let developers submit their apps until the day of release, which I thought was really stupid. But I took a step back, and I said, okay. I added an update to that review, and I said in 3 months I'm going to look at it again, and everything is going to be better. And literally, there are like 3, maybe 4 new apps in the past 3 months, and that is it. And the thing of it is, like, NBA Game Time was one of those apps. And I mean, obviously everybody knows I'm a huge basketball fan. And the damn Game Time app, if you try to watch a game, like, and you don't touch the player or the remote for a little while, the screensaver comes on. Like, you can't even. So even some of the apps that they did add aren't even usable. So. Anyway,
screensavers on a television app is the lamest thing ever. They should have.
Well, I mean, they all have it. Chromecast has it, and Fire TV has it, and Roku has it, but they all have that sort of pretty picture functionality. But
right, but everybody else disables it whenever you're running anything.
Exactly. And now I guess I should point out that could be an issue. Whoever develops the NBA's app or the NBA Game Time app, That could be an issue on their part. Like maybe they forgot to tick some box or something. I don't know. I don't know if it's because I didn't have it. I didn't experience that with anything else when I was testing Nexus Player for the first time. I mean, for the review.
I think James wrote it, so that's probably the problem.
The point is, there are now more places that you should not buy the Nexus Player from until Google makes it better. It has potential. It has potential because it has a good usable interface, and I like that much of it. It's just the content sucks right now.
But even based on the potential it has, I think we would probably agree that for the same price, you'd probably want to just hold off for the Razr, right?
Oh yeah, the Razr is going to be much better. Some of the ones that'll come out this year are going to be much better, content aside. So there are a couple of things on the Android TV front that I'm hoping for this year. I don't really want to talk about them right now, but hoping some names get behind a few things, so maybe that'll push the content forward. But we'll see what happens.
All right. All right, so next on the docket, Google has updated their Android compatibility definition document, which means a lot of things for a lot of different products. So, Liam, what's new and what can OEMs expect to have to live up to nowadays?
So the updated document is more detailed than the old one, obviously. It's updated for Lollipop, and they also added different form factors. So now that we have Android TV and Android Wear and everything, they've added categories for handhelds, television, watch, and other presumably being Android Auto. And they have tables of what's required of those different form factors, like, for instance, handheld device must have a touchscreen, televisions may, watches must, and others should. Things like that. They're strongly encouraging OEMs to pick up some of Android's new design patterns, like the task switcher. They must support up to 20 activities at the same time. You have to be able to see 4 activities at one time. It should display the highlight color icons, screen title, etc. Of course, manufacturers have to include the material theme without messing with it. They can't take away any elements that are usually exposed to apps in that case. And there are also some expanded performance compatibility definitions. So things like consistent frame latency, user interface latency. For instance, the device has to scroll a list of 10,000 entries in less than 36 seconds, just as one example. And then file I/O access performance, which is pretty big. They have new definitions for sequential write, sequential read, and random read. So basically just more detailed, more fine-grained definitions. And this is what it will take for Google to consider you compatible for the CTS in the future.
All right. All right. Lastly, on the Code Google front is the Nexus 6, because we had a little bit of news from a former Moto CEO about the new potential feature that was supposed to make it into the Nexus 6, but didn't quite make it in for a pretty kind of unique and interesting reason. So, Cam, what's the missing feature from the Nexus 6?
It's a fingerprint scanner. Yeah, I was supposed to have one in that little dimple in the back where the Moto logo is. There was supposed to be a fingerprint scanner there, but unfortunately, Apple done gone and scooped up the best manufacturer on the block, and Google / Motorola, I guess, didn't want to deal with some second place garbage, and apparently they tried a few and could not get results they were pleased with. So the end result, they said, you know what, we're just going to can the whole thing altogether. So yeah, that's
the fingerprint scanner was in the initial Nexus 6 leaks, and Ron, AP alumnus Ron, wrote about how the Android code actually has provisions for swiping fingerprint scanners. But I'm thinking, like, after seeing Huawei's fingerprint scanner at IFA, I'm thinking, like, why couldn't they get that? Because that's an awesome fingerprint scanner.
Yeah, I was going to say, Huawei has really good fingerprint scanning technology. I wonder, I mean, I guess I don't know, did they invent that, or is that a company
they worked with another company on it, so I don't know if it's something that's, like, proprietary to their relationship, or if it's something that other manufacturers can use too.
It might just be that that is available now, but at the point in the product cycle that what became the Nexus 6 was in planning, that just wasn't available.
Right. But I mean, I would hope that if one were implemented, it would be that one, because it is great. It is.
Oh, go ahead.
It's, in my experience, as reliable as Touch ID, which is good.
I can't imagine that there are a whole lot of people out there who would think, I really don't want a 6-inch phone, but as long as it has fingerprint scanning, I'm completely in.
I don't think very many people were disappointed to hear this news. I don't think they were like, wow, we sure missed out on that. They were just kind of
Man, I think 6-inch phones are stupid, and I think fingerprint scanners are stupid. So I think fingerprint scanners on 6-inch phones are stupid.
They don't. The stupid doesn't cancel out though. I would have thought that the two stupids would cancel out.
Yeah.
Oh my God, two stupids makes an awesome.
I don't know. Well, that depends.
Awesome.
That depends if they're both if you treat them both as negative numbers and then you multiply them, then they should be positive, I guess.
I mean, that's the only sensible way of going about it, right?
I don't know. Everybody says Touch ID is really good. I mean, the only fingerprint scanner experience that I have is on the Galaxy S5, and it made me want to punch myself in the face.
I mean, that was a really fun thing to play with, but I would be surprised if anybody actually uses it on a daily basis, because even on that phone, which is it has a 5.1-inch screen, it's not a huge phone, it's awkward to sort of slide your thumb down to the very bottom of the phone and swipe on the pad.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Touch ID, you just touch it, you just set your thumb on top of it,
right.
Which what this would have been on the Nexus 6 if it existed. But yeah, I mean, a swipe reader has to be in a really convenient spot, and even then, it's kind of not.
Even Touch ID, I'm kind of like, I enjoy using it just because it's fun, but I don't take it seriously. Like it's still kind of a weird spot if you're just going to touch like way down at the bottom of the phone like that. Yeah,
I mean actually, the middle of the back would be a really good spot.
That's why this made a lot of sense.
Yeah, if you use the home button to turn it on, though, then you just leave your finger there. So if you enroll like your 2 thumbs and your index fingers, then you're pretty much set for any situation.
Yeah.
But the back of the phone is certainly more comfortable because my finger, it just naturally gravitates there already.
I know, but that's why the dimple in general is really awesome, because that's just where you want your finger to be while you're using the phone. It's just, it helps you balance. And if it can unlock your phone automatically, then all the better. Although Lollipop does have the trusted face thing, which is really fantastic too. So
they could add trusted fingers too.
I'm sure that's what they would have called it.
Yes. All right, well, one feature that the Nexus 6 did ship with was wireless charging, and if you've picked one up and you picked up any other wireless charging phone, you owe it to yourself to check out the wireless charging car mount from Tilt. The Tilt View wireless charging car mount, as it's called, holds phones up to 4.2 inches wide and has 3 charging coils. So your Nexus 6 should just fit right in there with no problem, should pick up the charge right away. But what makes it even better is that it's got these really cool arms that just slide right out at the touch of the button. You just throw your phone in there, slide them back in. Really, really smooth, really, really satisfying to use. You can mount it on your dashboard or your windshield. You can do portrait, landscape, and any way you really want to. It gets you that View heads-up display on your wireless charger that you're used to if you've ever used the View desktop charger. Really, really nice product, really, really smooth. But right now, this product is available on Tilt.com. Well, sort of. It's coming soon. You can get your email address entered in there, get yourself signed up to get details about it. But as of right now, Android Police has a couple of them that we're going to be giving away. Starting tomorrow, that's Friday, January 30th at androidpolice.com/contest, you'll be able to sign up to get yourself entered to win a Tilt View wireless charging car mount. That's an $80 value. So make sure you get on over there and get yourself entered to win. Also, if you're a little bit too impatient, you don't want to wait for tomorrow, you can go to tylt.com and click on products to get more information about the Tilt View wireless charging car mount.
It's time for the Rumor Roundup.
All right, so HTC One M9 rumors were pretty much all the rage for the last 2 weeks. Lots of pictures coming around. There's rumors that it may not just be a watch that's coming in March, but the very least we know that there's a phone and it's coming soon. So Ryan, what do we know about that phone?
Well, there have been a few leaks. One of them looked a whole lot like the M8, and people were a little concerned about that because people just like on a list of things that people hate, right near the top is the HTC logo on the front of the M8. People are really unhappy that that exists, and the new leak had that, so people were upset. But we've been hearing that may have just been a dummy case, and there have been more recent leaks that show a different design. Actually, two designs. The M9 may come in two variants, one that's about 5 inches and one that's larger. And the smaller one doesn't have the black band with the logo on the front, which I guess will make people very happy. The larger one is kind of unusual. It has what appears to be a fingerprint scanner on the front bottom, like we were just talking about. And it looks a lot like the one on the Galaxy S5. So if that is the case, I think it's a bad idea and they shouldn't do that. But that smaller one looks like it might be cool. And we've seen a few pictures of the back that seems to show one camera, but that might have been the smaller one. Maybe it's only got one camera, and then they still have the duo cam thing on the larger one. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But we know that at MWC, HTC is going to have an event, and they will probably announce the phone.
All right. So in addition to that, we had some pictures this week from a unannounced Motorola phone, which we suspect is probably the next iteration of the Moto E, correct? Sorry, I clicked off and I didn't remember who had this topic. Right, Cam?
That was me. That is me. Yeah, I have the Moto E thing. Yeah, so it looks like a new version of the Moto E, which we kind of all expected would show up eventually.
Oop.
Hello?
Hello?
Are you there?
Something has gone wrong. Cam is either frozen in real life or Hangouts fail.
Tell me when you can hear me.
Wait, I hear you.
I will tell you as soon as I can hear you.
Okay, that's fantastic.
Your video is
I'm
real janky.
Well, I've noticed like 2 or 3 times tonight that everyone else has frozen up, and I haven't been able to hear a thing for like maybe 15, 20. All of a sudden, everything would come back. So I didn't know if it was me, if it was Hangouts, or what. So are we good now?
Who's your ISP? Who can we blame?
I have AT&T.
Okay, we'll blame them. It's AT&T.
So we can blame AT&T. Yeah, we're gonna blame AT&T. I think that works. So are we good? Can I talk about the Moto E?
Yes.
Yes. Chat it up.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, Moto E looks like it's running Lollipop, so that's pretty interesting, especially considering this is going to be another very budget handset. We don't know any of the specs. Of course, this is just an image, but I mean the other one was like $130 for, I mean, decent hardware for the money. Very, very affordable phone, so very low-end specs, and that's exactly what this one's going to be. So I find it interesting that it's running Lollipop. Hopefully Motorola has done some work behind the scenes to make Lollipop run well on really limited hardware, because right now, even on not very limited hardware, it just doesn't run very well at all. I'm not going to get off on a tangent about that right now. But yeah, so there's a pic on the site if you want to go check it out, if you are interested in spending probably under $150 for a phone whenever it comes out.
All right. Well, let's move on to Snapdragon rumors, because we had plenty of those in the past week as well. It's overheating. It's not overheating. We're not going to use it. We're going to use something else instead. It's been just a mess in general. So Ryan, what's going on with the Snapdragon 810?
So this all started when Bloomberg ran a report claiming that the Snapdragon 810 had overheating problems, and that it was going to be severe enough that Samsung would not use it in the Galaxy S6 this year. So the 810 is the upcoming flagship chip from Qualcomm. It is 64-bit. It runs 8 cores. 4 of them are Cortex A57s and 4 are Cortex A53s. So these are ARM reference cores instead of Qualcomm's custom ARM cores, which they still do not have ready for 64-bit yet. So that happened, and then shortly after that, LG came out and said, you know, there's no problem with the 810 that we're using in the G Flex 2, which I think came out either like today or yesterday, I think, in South Korea. LG said that its key performance was fine, and that, you know, so then maybe everybody thought, okay, so maybe that was just wrong, or that happened a long time ago and they fixed it since then, so maybe it'll be fine. But then Qualcomm announced their quarterly results, and they included a statement at the bottom that one of the reasons that they might see slowing growth in the next year is that wait, what is the quote? Let me find the actual quote here. That a large customer's flagship device would not be using the 810 as they had previously expected. So that probably refers to Samsung and the Galaxy S6. And if that is the case, then Samsung would either have to use an 805 or they would have to come up with an Exynos chip that they could use. They've always made some variants of their flagship with an Exynos, but usually they're overseas. They're not the ones that they release here in the US, so if they decided to use Exynos on everything, they would have to figure out their LTE situation. I mean, it would probably be a big mess, but presumably Samsung has known about this for some time, so they'll have something ready to go. So I guess we still don't know for sure what's going to happen, but we know somebody that was going to use 810, that is a large customer, is not anymore.
All right. All right, let's move on to Carrier 411.
Carrier 411.
All right, so T-Mobile had a couple of announcements this week that basically, to sum up, say if you pay an extra $5 and you pay it on time, you will be a happy T-Mobile customer. I think that's really about the takeaway from it. But Cam, specifically, what's T-Mobile offering up now?
We have no audio.
No audio.
Nothing one.
That was my fault, actually. I was muted. I looked at it right beforehand, and I did see that I was muted, but apparently I was muted. So
muting yourself produces no audio.
Oh, is that what causes that?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to understand because you can hear yourself, but you're the only.
I can hear myself just fine. So
it's kind of like when you close your eyes, you're not invisible.
What do you think causes that? When I can hear myself, but you guys can't hear me?
Mute.
Inner monologue.
Okay,
Very
but
good. I like it.
I need to hear more about this closing your eyes doesn't make you invisible thing, because that's news to me.
It doesn't.
Bob has never actually closed his eyes before. So, gonna put that out there.
Bob hasn't been putting his hands in front of his eyes after he closes them. It's a problem.
Let's talk about T-Mobile, though.
Let's do that.
Let's talk about T-Mobile.
So T-Mobile, yes, two things: smartphone equality and a new program called Score. So smartphone equality is basically this thing where as long as you pay your T-Mobile bill on time for 12 months, they will guarantee you access to financing plans. No credit check. It doesn't matter what your credit score is. Essentially, as long as you pay T-Mobile on time, that's all they care about. After 12 months, you will be able to finance a new phone. So that's pretty cool. I mean, I think that's definitely cool for people who may have some credit issues. Alongside that, they also announced Score, which basically it's a program where T-Mobile users will pay $5 a month, and after 6 months they're eligible to get a free smartphone, which is like a super low end whatever entry-level smartphone. But after 12 months, then T-Mobile is promising deeper discounts on all of their devices. The example that they gave in the press release was $150 off of a Galaxy S5. When you do the math, obviously, if you give $5 per month over a 12-month span, that's $60, and then in return you get $150 off a smartphone. I mean, you can't really beat that. That's like $93 for basically nothing. So yeah, like Matt said, if you pay T-Mobile $5 extra a month and you pay them on time, you get cheaper phones and you can finance said cheaper phones. So I mean, it's just a couple more things that T-Mobile is doing to pull customers in or to keep customers they have.
All right, good deal. Now, one of the bits of bad news that came out of T-Mobile this week came from the Deutsche Telekom part of the business. If you don't recall, Deutsche Telekom is actually the owner of T-Mobile. They had a little bit of disheartening news about T-Mobile's future and their and how it relates to their business model. So, Ryan, what's the story there?
The CEO of Deutsche Telekom was at a conference in Germany, and he said, T-Mobile can't keep doing what they're doing with all of the Un-carrier stuff and not merge with somebody at some point. I guess you can take this with a grain of salt because DT has been doing everything it can to get out of the U.S. wireless market for the last few years. So maybe he's just really trying to play up how badly T-Mobile needs to merge with somebody. But he does make a good point that it costs $4 or $5 billion a year of investment just for T-Mobile to stay competitive in spectrum and coverage. That's, of course, because AT&T and Verizon are huge, and they have a lot of money to spend on spectrum auctions and to roll out new towers and to deal with zoning restrictions. And it just costs a lot of money to keep a carrier running. Even a carrier that is, just smaller like T-Mobile. And with doing all this Un-carrier stuff, they've been growing. They've been getting more subscribers, and that's good. But it's not necessarily enough to make it viable long term. So I guess we'll see if that if that ever comes to pass. The Sprint deal fell through. I'm not sure what else could possibly happen. He talked a little bit about the AT&T situation, how that that didn't work, and how he wished the Sprint deal would have happened. But again, the rumor was regulators would have just shut that down because they don't want to have a situation where we go down to 3 major carriers. So I don't know what could happen. I mean, T-Mobile has already bought out a couple of smaller carriers. So I don't know. Maybe they would just buy a few smaller regional carriers and try to beef everything up. I don't see any other way that could happen though.
Is it cheaper to buy regional carriers than it is to develop your own network, I guess?
It probably depends how many spectrum licenses they have.
Ah, good call. Spectrum part. Right.
Yeah, Spectrum is that's the thing driving the wireless industry right now. I mean, there was just a Spectrum auction a few days ago, or maybe even yesterday. It was like in the tens of billions that was spent on Spectrum.
All right, let's move on to product reviews.
It's time for product reviews. Did I hit the wrong button? Aww. This week's product review is hands-on with the Blue Vivo Air.
Man, that was intense.
It was magical.
Thanks.
I don't even know where I'm at anymore. Did we go somewhere?
I don't either, because I'm invisible.
Oh my God, Bob, close his eyes!
No, I've been invisible the whole show.
Oh my goodness, no wonder you hit the wrong button. You're running the show with your eyes closed.
Drink!
Okay. So, you guys want to talk about this blue phone? You probably don't want to. I'm sure you guys don't care.
I'm sure it's terrible, and you would never use it as your daily driver ever.
I would never do something like that. So this, I just right here, I'm just going to show. This is the Blue Vivo Air, and this is the the third product in Blue's Vivo line. It's $200 off contract. It has like a MediaTek octa-core chip. 1.7 gigahertz. Only has a gig of RAM, has 16 gigabytes of non-expandable storage, and it's running KitKat. So I thought it looked pretty good when they announced it. I was like, wow, that's cool. It's the thinnest smartphone. That's the thing. It's the thinnest smartphone you can buy in the U.S. It is 5.1 millimeters thick, and it weighs 97 grams. So it is stupid thin and stupid light. And I love it. I mean, I really, really, really love it. So after they sent it to me and I was looking at it, I was like, wow, this is really, really freaking cool. It's really snappy. And I found myself, even after I finished the hands-on with it, I found myself like going for it when I wanted to do something, to check something out. So believe it or not, the day after I did the hands-on, I was like, you know what, I'm going to hold on to this for a while, and I'm going to use it as my daily driver. So I pulled the SIM from my Moto X, and I have been using this blue phone ever since. And I have zero regrets. It doesn't have LTE, and I don't really notice a difference. I guess because LTE, I'm on AT&T, so LTE is so congested at this point. It's really not stupid fast anymore, and there are so many people not on HSPA Plus. It is now. I mean, they work. I don't want to say they work the same. LTE is still a little bit faster if you actually do speed tests, but I don't really notice an enormous difference in actually using it. It only has 1 gigabyte of RAM, and ironically, I have gotten better performance out of it than I have my Moto X on Lollipop because of the memory leak garbage. So everything just runs better. I mean, like I said, it's running KitKat. I don't miss Lollipop at this point. I'm really, really happy with it. I'm really happy with this phone, which is something just, I mean, I never, if somebody would have said, hey, Blue is going to release a $200 phone with a gigabyte of RAM and a MediaTek processor that you are going to choose over any other phone that you have, I would probably have told them that they were full of crap and that would never happen. But you know what? I've got a Nexus 6, a Nexus 5, a Moto X all over here on this charger, and I'm not using any of them. They just stay right there. And it's been like that for like I said, I guess about a week now. I've been using it as my daily driver, and I find that I use it even more than I use my other phones. I thought about maybe going back to the Moto X like yesterday, and I picked it up, and this phone is so thin and so light, it felt like I picked up a brick in my Moto X. Don't get me wrong, I like my Moto X. I wish Lollipop didn't make the experience almost unbearable for me, because, like I said, I'm using a phone with 1 gigabyte of RAM, and I don't have a bad experience. Everything loads quickly. Nothing seems to get kicked out of memory that often. I don't know. I really like it. Like I said, it's $200. $200 off contract. It's got a 4.8-inch display, and it's 720p, which again I don't see an issue with. 8-megapixel camera, which I think takes pretty good pictures. There are some samples in the hands-on, but actually when it comes to cheap phones. Right now, I think this is the phone to buy. There's the Moto X. I mean, not the Moto X. The Moto G 2014, which I know a lot of people are into. I have not personally used that phone, so I can't say how the experience is, but I know it has Lollipop now. I just can't imagine Lollipop is very good on 1 gigabyte of RAM, considering it's basically not very good on 2 gigabytes of RAM. So to me, the Vivo Air is the phone to buy if you're looking to buy off contract for $200. And normally I recommend these blue phones for like first smartphone or teens or somebody like that, somebody who doesn't require a lot from their phone. I mean, obviously I require a lot from my phone, and it has met everything that I want to do with my phone. Hasn't been anything that I'm like, oh, it can't do that. It does have a couple of weird bugs though. There's one weird quirk where expandable notifications just stop working for some reason, and that's kind of annoying. But other than that, I haven't experienced anything else with it. I also like that the headphone jack is on the bottom. Just want to point that out too. So yeah, Blue Vivo Air, $200 off contract, and it's very good. Yes, sir.
I admit I did not read the article. How's battery life fare on that thing?
So battery life, even in the hands-on, I don't really talk much about battery life because usually when I do a hands-on, it's pretty quick. But since I've been using it as my daily driver, I get about, I would say, 3.5 hours of screen on time. It usually gets me through the day pretty easily. Sometimes in the late evening, I'll have to throw it on the charger. The battery life, honestly, I think it's better than my Moto X 2014, which did not get very good battery life. I was not very happy with the battery life on that phone at all. Because, I mean, if I were going to go somewhere at 4 or 5 in the afternoon or whatever, I would always have to have it on the charger, which I have the quick charger, so that helps. But I would always have to put it on the charge for a little while before I left, and I don't have to do that with this phone. So, again, just really surprised. It goes into deep sleep, and it stays there really, really well. So when you're not using it, there's no drain. Which is really nice. And I've noticed that with the past few Blue phones I've used, that they all seem to just go into deep sleep and stay there, and I can't seem to get any other phone to ever do that. So.
Okay. So I have a question about the buttons. So it has a menu button, and
it does.
I know like you can long press it to get recents. Is there any way to just make the menu button be a recents button, or do you always have to long press?
No, it's always going to be a long press. I wish that they would start, if they're going to stick with these menu buttons, which from the look of their 2015 lineup, what they announced at CES, it looks like they may start moving towards on-screen buttons with some of the things that are coming out later this year, and I hope that's the case. But for right now, I really wish they would send updates to at least some of their more popular or flagship handsets, which even though this doesn't have flagship specs, I would definitely call it a flagship model because it's just so good. But yeah, they don't have any sort of customization to the keys. So the home key is just a home key. When you long press on it, it launches Google Now. The menu key is a menu key, and when you long press on it, it opens recents. Which I wish that was reversed because I use.
Sorry, go ahead.
I use recents a lot more than menu, so I wish there were a way to reverse that.
Is Blue a Chinese company?
Okay, so Blue has an interesting relationship with other companies. I know in other countries the same devices are launched with different names. And it's my understanding that Blue works with other manufacturers, and they're all like, I don't want to say they're all one big company, but they all work together to design handsets so they can buy them in bulk and sell them at a lower price, and then each company gets to distribute it in their own respective country and only in that country under their name.
I see. So like these same phones exist in Asia as different devices.
They do.
I see.
They do. They do.
I asked that mainly because of
I think
the
is
menu
one
button.
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually
so
a hardware.
Gioni,
Go ahead, Kim.
usually hardware what?
Well, I was just saying usually
No,
hardware menu
I
buttons are a Chinese thing. That's why I ask.
Yeah, so that's something that they do. They work with other companies like Gioni, because every time I post about Blue, somebody's like, "Oh, this is just this phone rebranded." It's not actually a rebranding.
They're both.
People think
the
it's
phone.
a rebranding of it. It's the same phone, right? It's not a rebranded phone. These companies, like I said, they all work together, because I quoted it in the last review. I did it in the comments section, but there was an interview with Blue CEO, and somebody asked about that. And they're like, well, what about these phones that are rebranding of other phones? He's like, that's not what they are at all. We work with other manufacturers in other countries, and I think it's kind of cool the way they do that. That they kind of join together, they come up with these design ideas themselves all together as a whole, and then they all decide, yes, we want to move forward with this phone. They get it produced, mass produced, and then they all get to distribute it in their own country. So here it just happens to be Blue. Somewhere else, it's
a bunch of small OEMs that get to act like a big OEM.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's like none of them have the resources of like Xiaomi or Huawei to design their own devices, and have them produced for a reasonable price. So yeah, a bunch of small companies just get to do it together. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty cool. I think that's really, and since they're all in different countries, none of them compete against each other.
Yeah.
So it works out really well.
All right, let's move on to app updates. All right, so Microsoft was all over the app updates this week. They released several new products, or just new versions of existing products, and Ryan is going to tell you about all of them.
Yes, so the Word, Excel, and PowerPoint apps that were out a few months ago as previews have now been updated to just regular final versions. So you can download those on any Android tablet running 4.4 or Lollipop that has at least a gig of RAM and is on an ARM chip. There is not yet support for Intel apparently, but that will come later this year. And then they also released a version of Outlook for Android. That's a completely new app. You can check all of your email, all of your Outlook email on it, and it actually looks like a pretty nice app. So you can download all these free. If you have an Office 365 subscription, you will get all of the premium Office features. All the basic stuff supposedly is free. I don't know what they mean by premium features. I have been using it without signing in with Office 365, and it seems to do everything that I would expect it to do. The Microsoft blog post didn't really explain what those supposed features are, so I don't know.
All right, good deal. And Cameron, the next section is for you because you don't get to blabber on about all the music stuff you'd like to because this is mostly an Android-related podcast. And let's be honest, music apps with Android are just so-so.
They're just getting started.
Yeah. So you're going to tell us why that's changing, right?
Okay, so IK Multimedia, they created the iRig, and they have been making some movement on Android for the last several weeks. I would say they announced the iRig HDA, which is HD Android, and is only compatible with Samsung devices with professional audio, which is like the Note 4 and the Note 4 Edge, Lollipop devices, I think. And they announced the iRig 2 for Android, which is Lollipop devices only because Google finally got around to fixing the audio in latency issues in Lollipop, which is fantastic. And now, most recently at NAMM this year, they announced the iRig UA, which is basically universal Android. So this is awesome because it will work on any 4.0 plus device. Now, anyone who has kept up with this disaster knows that iOS has always had really low audio in latency. That's why things like iRig and JamUp and all the others exist, where you can basically turn the iOS device into a guitar or bass audio processor, like a digital effects pedal or an amp simulator. And Android has always had really terrible audio in latency, so that wasn't possible. So what IK Multimedia did for the iRig UA was, instead of letting Android do the processing power or handle all the processing, the audio processing, the iRig actually handles it. So very little work is done on the Android side. Basically, you could change the amps and whatnot on the Android side, and I guess it sends that information back to the iRig, and then it does everything else. So it's almost like a standalone unit that just uses Android as its screen, is essentially how it works. Which, you know what? That's cool. That's really cool, and I'm really happy that somebody's finally making not just a little bit of movement on this, but they've been working at it. I mean, obviously, they've already announced 3 different iRigs for Android, and I really hope that everybody else follows suit with that, because right now, I mean, you get an iRig, Amplitude is all there is to use, which that's not to say Amplitude is bad. It's not at all, but I would like to see, obviously, more. I would like to see as much as there is on iOS, which I don't know if that'll ever happen. But anyway, if you play guitar and you like amp simulation software, which has come so far in the past 5 years, it's just mind-blowing how good this stuff can be now. Like I said, that's the only reason I own an iPad. I've said that a bazillion times, but that's exactly why I have it, for amp simulation stuff. I use JamUp, but I can't wait to check out this Android stuff with the iRig 2 and the iRig UI. I want to check them both out and see kind of the difference between them and how they, whatever. But yeah, so this one will be available. God, what did they say? Quarter two of this year. So it'll be available at quarter two. I'm not sure about the iRig 2, but this one, we still have a few months to wait for this one. I guess they're finalizing everything that has to be done, but it's definitely a very, very cool thing, something I'm super happy to see available. So other than that, on a completely different, much simpler level, I checked out the At Hand tuner, which is a guitar tuner for Android Wear. I can't believe I never thought about how clever that would be or how useful that could be before I saw this app. Artem was like, "Oh, dude, you're gonna love this," and he was right. It's awesome. So simple to use, and actually, really accurate. I tested it with 3 different tunings on 3 different guitars.
We lost you. Hello? Bonjour.
Pretty low air tunes. Am I there?
Okay, so you said you
tested it on
tested
three
it on
different
3 different
guitars.
tunings.
I did. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, great. Yeah, I tested on 3 different tunings, one of which is pretty low, and other tuners have an issue with the lowest string on it. And it actually nailed it. No problem. I was really, really impressed with it. It even has a clip-on mode where it just changes the orientation. You can attach it to the headstock of the guitar, which to me seems like more trouble than it's worth to actually take it off your wrist and then attach it. Plus, if you're using a metal band, you can scratch it up. But anyway, the point is, it works really well, and I actually used it that same day I installed it and did the hands-on. I went, we stopped by my mother-in-law's house, and she was like, "Oh, maybe you could tune that other guitar. I can't get it to pitch by ear." And I was like, "Oh, wow, look, I already have this right here on my wrist." So, yeah, very convenient. If you play guitar, there's no reason not to have it. It's like $1.45, and it's super handy, so you should go buy that.
If you have Android Wear.
If you have Android.
It works on the phone too. Obviously, there are a bazillion other tuners available for Android phones, but yeah. So if you have Android Wear and you play guitar, you should probably get that one.
Cool.
All right, sounds good. Well, we're running a little bit long, so we're going to skip past the voicemails tonight. Sorry for anybody who called in. We will get to voicemails next week, so don't forget to call and leave your messages. Want to send a big shout out to Tilt this week for sponsoring the show. Just a reminder, AndroidPolice.com/contest is going to have 5 of those brand new View chargers to give away this week. So make sure you're keeping your eyes peeled for that. All right, Bob, you want to cue the outro, sir?
Sure. Well, we hope you enjoyed the show. As always, send your feedback to podcast@androidpolice.com. You can also call us at 530-HELLO-AP. That's 530-435-5627. Find us on Twitter at Android Police, Google+, and Facebook. You like that? It was in effect like a Facebook, like I
liked it.
Floating away or something. Yeah.
I was pretty impressed. I was pretty impressed by it.
You know what's very true about this podcast? 2 stupids making awesome.
But there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us, so we have an odd number. So there's
5
no
stupids
way
make us stupid.
because you're gonna end up with stupid every time.
Well, that's why.
That's why
I'm not showing my face on the show.
It's 4 stupids and a disembodied voice.
Oh, dude, 4 stupids and a disembodied voice makes it awesome. I did the math in my head.
That's going to
free
be
to
my
double
band name. 4 stupids and a disembodied voice.
I was gonna say makes an Edgar Allan Poe poem, but
An Edgar Allan poem.
Edgar Allan Poe M.
Ah ha ha ha.
Ah, clever.
So good.
Robert Downey Jr.
So good.
So, how about them
So
Bulls?
what you guys doing? What about the Bulls? Oh yeah, I'm gonna go watch them in 45 minutes. I'm gonna watch them play the Lakers.
Yeah.
Until then, let's tell secrets.
Oh my goodness, let's tell secrets live on YouTube.
Live
I think I'm gonna
YouTube secrets.
We should start like a post-show advice column or something.
A post-show advice column. Please tell me all the problems in your life, and I will tell you how to fix them, because God knows I don't have enough of my own problems to worry about.
Step 1, hide your face.
Dear Cam. That's how you have to start off every question.
Dear Cam.
I wish that I had a signature hairdo so that I could have an avatar that was just blue with yellow glasses and people would still know who.
I know who it is. It's a Slee Stack from Land of the Lost. Right? Oh, it's Liam.
I've got a red version too that I use.
A Slee Stack. Slee Stack, I think they're called.
Yes, the Slee Stack. That is correct. That is what they are.
I don't have any
Have a
idea what
picture
that
for
is.
us. Hang on.
They're lizard people. If you just Google that, you'll
Yeah, just
My
type
dad's
in
friend
Slee
Russell
Stack.
was actually the head sculptor in the of the Slee Stacks in the new Will Ferrell, not new, but the recent Will Ferrell Land of the Lost.
Really?
Oh, that that movie's not canon. I'm gonna go ahead and say that now.
That movie was great. I thought it gave me some belly laughs.
It can be great and non-canon at the same time.
Oh, the belly laughs.
Yeah, but if you want to go canon on Sid and Marty Krofft stuff, you're not really going to appeal to mass markets anyway. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you.
That was an interesting
Right.
noise. That is also an interesting noise. Many interesting noises.
It'll be awesome. I mean, look at Highlander 2, but I couldn't even say it. Like I couldn't even get it out.
I'm interested to go back and watch this podcast and see what my audio sounds like. I hope that my mic is not dying, because before the show started, it did the same thing, and I restarted my laptop and it started working again. But
Oh my God, maybe your laptop is dying.
Yeah,
it could
that's-
just be coincidence. If
You didn't think about that,
already
did you?
dying, I'm gonna be upset.
Apple has
DRAM.
included self-destruct code. If
When's the last
if
time
use
you
it too
reset
much.
your PRAM? What about your SMU control unit?
Gosh, Papa, I don't know. Sure.
I have no idea. Okay, and on that note, I have to pee.
Yes, I'm.
DRAM.
How are you going to pee on that note?
Will you use the
I've
audio
got
tuner?
I don't want to do it on the podcast. I can't go if you watch.
It's it's okay. Just pretend we're not here. You can turn on the faucet or something. Okay, but no, I'm gonna go too. I don't have to urinate, but I'm still gonna go.
Okay, bye.
All right, peace out.
Bye.
Stop
Bye.
it all.
Woo,
No,
deuces.
stop it all. Stop it. Stop it.